Good evening, everyone. Looks like we have a good sized audience and a lot of smiling faces logging on right now. First, let me welcome you to this year's event. It's called 10 Days of Building a Pathway to Prosperity. It started last Saturday and we've already generated some excellent momentum. My name is Tim Blett and I serve as the Hope Builders Board Chair. Tonight, I'll act as your MC, leading us through an exciting lineup of speakers, along with a quick update on Hope Builders. Tonight, you'll hear from Glenn Stearns, founder and CEO of Kind Lending, Juan Gonzalez, Hope Builders trainee, Shauna Smith, Hope Builders Executive Director, Vince McGinnis from JP Morgan Chase and a long-term board member. And then after we hear from everybody, we'll wrap up with a quick Q&A. You'll see at the bottom of your screen a Q&A and you can enter questions you have. And for the questions that we're not able to get to tonight, because of timing, we'll follow up and get an answer back to you. Before we get started, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you on behalf of the Hope Builders Board and the Hope Builders team for joining us tonight. For those of you that are new to Hope Builders is a workforce development agency. We bridge the gap between young adults age 18 to 28 who are in need of mentorship, life skills, and job training, with employers who are looking for highly skilled workers. And our focus at Hope Builders isn't just about finding them a job. It's about putting them into a career pathway, we like to say, to prosperity. The good news, we've helped over 6,000 young adults find their pathway. We have 3 training verticals: medical assisting, construction, and behavioral technician. This past year was filled with many challenges and some great victories. And I'd like to share with you some exciting news straight out of the Hope Builders classroom. Despite the pandemic, Hope Builders has continued to grow and thrive. Last year, we introduced blended learning, some learning at home and some learning in the classroom, and have expanded our social enterprise operations. We call our social enterprise Hope Builders Career Connections. This past year, Hope Builders enrolled 175 young adults, with 95% of our graduates placed into construction and healthcare jobs. This is an incredible accomplishment, generating nearly $400,000 in ongoing sustainable income for the enterprise. And that is something we want to triple in the next 3 years. This that you see on the screen is an example of the hope and the success that we provide. In this case, our quote is, "I have never been this motivated to achieve my goals and better myself as a person." And she was able to join our medical assistant program. Next quote. Hope Builders opened a door for me. I have a chance to grow and actually be somebody. This is David, and he is just doing a wonderful job at SunWest Electric. And finally, we hear from Marciana. "I learned so many skills at Hope Builders. They helped me to realize everything is possible." So now I'd like to move into the introduction of tonight's speaker, Glenn Stearns. From underdog to undercover billionaire, Glenn is gracious enough to share his rags to riches story with us as a prime example of what can be accomplished with grit and determination. I'll let him share some specifics, but I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight a few of his accomplishments. In 2013, he built Stearns Lending into America's #1 wholesale lender for 2 years in a row. Then he sold it to one of the largest private equity firms in the world. He's a world traveler and has traveled with everything from astronauts to US vice presidents. He starred in reality TV shows, including Gilligan's Island and the Discovery Channel's Undercover Billionaire. Currently, he's building a new legacy in a mortgage lending operation called Kind Lending, who has funded $1 billion in the first 6 months of production. Hugely impressive. He's partnered on a Montana ranch with John Elway and previously owned a private Caribbean island with Sir Richard Branson. Our topic today and what Glenn is going to focus on is how he unlocked his greatness. At Hope Builders, we believe there's greatness in every single person we meet. And our purpose is to unlock that greatness for each and every young adult we serve. So Glenn, welcome and hello. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your story tonight.
Well, thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. And I'm really glad to be here. What you guys are doing at Hope Builders is fantastic. And so I'm honored to be here. So thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you. We're going to do a little fireside chat. So I'll throw some questions at you. I'm sure that none of them will be a surprise. So at Hope Builders serves, as I mentioned earlier, 18 to 28-year-olds who have faced significant challenges, roadblocks, barriers throughout their lives. Can you please share with us your background with a focus on the obstacles you faced as a young adult?
Sure. I feel I'll fit in pretty well, actually. I mean, I grew up on the outside, kind of outskirts of Washington, D.C. My family, we grew up hard. My dad was a printer. My mom cleaned homes and was a grocery checker. And we were in a little apartment with the bars on the windows and the whole thing. And my whole family struggled with alcoholism, drug addiction, that kind of stuff. And so, but growing up, like anybody, you only know what you know, right? You live in your own world. You don't have a perspective of things could be better or there just are. And so, I started out again, I failed 4th grade. So, didn't get off to the greatest start in school. By the time I was in 8th grade, I had a child. So I was 14 years old when my daughter was born, Charlene. And then, for some reason, no one in my family had ever gone to college, but I decided I was going to go to college. And now, I won't tell you how I was real motivated. It was more because of probably a girlfriend than anything, right? It wasn't the right reasons to go to college. It was just I went. And but after getting there and struggling myself because I was in the same kind of rat trap that my whole family had been in. I was following in the same kind of footsteps by drinking a lot and having a kind of patterning myself after a lot of my family members. And I just got to a place where right after I graduated college, I realized I just didn't want to live that life anymore. And I didn't want to go into the same cycle anymore. And I remember it was one night of being out and laughing at something very silly that happened. And as I was laughing, I said, wow, I've laughed at the same dumb things last night, the night before, like it's old. I wanted to do something different with my life. And so I decided the next day, I told my buddy, I said, why don't we drive? I lived in Maryland. I was on the East Coast. And by the way, I had to pay for a college all by myself, right? I worked the whole time and got student loans and Pell Grants and everything that you need when you need to pay for your own college. And I came out to California. We drove out, friend and I, we ended up in Costa Mesa. So just happened to be right down the road. And after about 5 nights of sleeping on the floor, we had a friend here. There's 5 guys in 1 bedroom. We were right behind the DMV on 17th Street, if you know where that is, 19th Street, I mean. And I ended up spending the night. I knew somebody that lived over in Corona del Mar, and she had been my boss when I was a waiter in Maryland. And so I ended up waking up and walking over to the beach there, Ocean Boulevard, the beautiful homes, all the beautiful cars and people. And I sat on one of those benches and looking down at Little Corona Beach, and I just got inspired, like, wow, look at this life. I want this. And again, I was dysfunctional still. I wasn't, I graduated with a 2.1 grade point average, right? I wasn't, this really smart guy or anything, but I wanted to live a different life. And I walked up to the man in the yard who was cutting his rose bushes, and I asked him, like, what did it take to get this house? I know I can do it. What did it take? And he says, Senor, I'm the gardener. He goes, I'm just cutting his, his grass and his bushes, but I think he's in real estate. And I thought, I'm going to get into real estate, and that was kind of my start, and I stayed. Here I am.
Wow. That's powerful. So what role did perseverance and commitment and hard work play along your journey? And as you mentioned, you wanted to kind of break the cycle. How did you push yourself out of that comfort zone, which is, I think you said, it's all you knew?
Right. And kind of relating to a lot of people, I think that you guys over at Hope Builders help, right? Are people that maybe haven't had a lot of maybe direct intervention to get them out of their own cycle, right? They're living these lives that have maybe family members who, maybe aren't on the right path, and they might not be in the best neighborhoods. And, I get that, right? So you don't live in a world. I didn't live in a world where, son, you're going to go to college. I went for the wrong reason. Like I said, my parents, they were not highly educated. They didn't, want me to go to college. They didn't ask me, it wasn't like I had a lot of mentors and people that said, go down this road. But it's just, for whatever reason, I realized I did not want to live the same type of life that the people around me were living. And I began to realize when I was in college that if I stayed a little longer and I worked a little harder at things, I would get it accomplished. Again, I didn't get a great grade point average, but I had a lot of people that started, for, I don't know why, but kind of believing in me and saying, something about you, I can't put my finger on it. And I liked that. I didn't know I liked it, right? I would always go, like, I would feel embarrassed if I would get a compliment, but I liked that people believed in me. And then it started to build a confidence that is very important when you break out of something, right? You think you can do it. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't have a lot of people telling me I could, my dreams were pretty small at the time. And then, that confidence is so important. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. It's very slow process, and so I began to just stack one little success on top of another. And when I mean success, I mean, being able to pay my own rent, right? The little successes. I don't mean having a fancy car and all those things. All that came later, but it was just building to get into a point where I said, I can support myself. I can, be a role model, a positive role model. I don't have to be what some of my family members were. And those kind of things begin to then give you a sense of you can really be whoever you want to be, and that was pretty much the start, I guess you could say, of how I began to kind of think, maybe there's absolutely nothing that can stop me in the world,
Yeah. So one thing that at Hope Builders we try to encourage everybody is to find a mentor or two even. And it sounds like, as you're describing that confidence and encouragement, you might have had a couple along the way.
Oh, I did. Again, I was young. I remember I was while Kathy, the young girl at the time that was pregnant. Remember, I'm 14 years old, and I had the manager of the roller rink pull me aside and said, "Glenn, there's something about you're going to be a leader one day." Just said that to me, and in the middle of the biggest funk of my life, I'm feeling like the biggest loser, right? Like I've let all these people down and whatnot. I got to college, and I had another man that I started a fraternity, and he was like one of the elders, right? He was actually the vice chancellor at Maryland, the University of Maryland. And he said, he came and he set all the young people down, and he says, let's pick someone we admire and talk about why. It could be a president, it could be anybody you want, people And he goes, and I'll start. And he goes, and I admire Glenn, and let me tell you why. And again, it embarrassed me a little, and then I started to look at these people and think, wow, and look at, I'd like to, make sure I don't let them down, and I want to spend more time with them. And I started to find older people as people that I wanted to try to emulate more. So when I came to California, now again, I'm young. I don't have a lot of depth. I have no depth of California, but not in even life, right? I just don't have a lot of experience. But I began to look around, and there's a lot of people, the pillars of Orange County, right? From George Argyros to General Lyon to a lot of these people that built Orange County. And, I started to, Harry Rinker, he just 100 years old, just passed away last week, right? And I began to hear about their names, all the wonderful things they did in Orange County. And I would, if there was any chance of being near them at a fundraiser or going somewhere, I'd go up, hey, how you doing? And I'd introduce myself. I'd love to go to lunch with you. Just love to pick your brain, right? And so I would do that all the time. And then for whatever reason, I caught the eye of those men that I just told you and many more. And they took me in under their wing. I was young. I didn't have a lot going for me. And I just wanted to learn through osmosis, right? I wanted to understand how they commanded so much respect. People respected them, and they, and they did wonderful things, right? And I would just listen and watch.
Yeah.
I would. One last little thing, I'd watch George Argyros as we would hunt in Spain, but he would sit in the back. I'd say, you're with the ambassador here. Like, you should be in front. No, it's okay. You sit up there. It was little things about how you treat people, and so it became important to me.
So walk us from the real estate moment through to your first major success story at Stearns Lending.
So I didn't know what to do. I became a waiter out here in Newport Beach. And then I got a job as a loan officer. And I found after 4 or 5 months of not doing any work, and I had a class of about 15, and I remember the man saying, if I can keep 2 of you out of 15, I'll feel like it was a success. And I was nervous. They're going to let me go. And it wasn't about being let go. It was about who would quit, who would stick around, who could handle the pain, right? And I didn't understand that, because it's all commission, and it's about how hard do you work. And so I just would start earlier and stay later and go out and keep putting my card out there and going over and over and over again until finally I would get some work, and then failing even at that a lot. And, but every time something went right, it would build a little confidence. And this took a long time. So after about almost a year, It was actually 10 months. A lot of things happened, but there was a gentleman that said, hey, why don't we do this together? And I said, I don't have any real money. And he goes, well, I've got some money and you know how to do loans. I'd been doing it 10 months. I didn't know how to do it that well. And so we started our own company, and, and off we went. And it was a very slow, again, process where I find if people think, things are overnight, you can look at American Idol or you can look at some of these shows and it happens like that. That's fantasy, right? I mean, 99.9% of us, it's called a career for a reason. It doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes a long time. And so I began to build very slow, ups and downs, and, could we make payroll, and, all those things, the struggle. And again, what I found, and now that I look back, most jobs, most companies that go under, it's because people give up, right? It's because you don't communicate, and you don't, reach out, and when things get tough, you don't put your head in the sand. And so those things were happening. Well, it's payroll. I can't do it. What am I going to do? And we would have to figure it out over and over and over again. And so as I began to slowly build on the mortgage business, I started a couple other companies that were ancillary to mortgage. They were title and audit. That didn't work either. And so I went to the government, and they were selling a lot of homes in Santa Ana. Was HUD back then, Department of Housing and Urban Development. And they had tons of homes that were government owned homes. So I went and I said, how can I do your title work? I'd like to do it. You have all this title work. And I needed a contract. Well, I figured out how to do that, and I got a contract. And long story short on that is I became the largest HUD contractor in the country doing title work. Then I became an auditor for HUD. I became the largest auditor for HUD in the country. And so that took me while my mortgage business kept growing all through the 90s and then into the 2000s. I bought out my partner. I became the sole owner. And then I just started to develop the mortgage company. And, and then every time things go bad, like 2007 and 2008, the worst financial crisis in the world, right, was a wonderful opportunity, because a lot of people go away. A lot of people can't make it through. And if you make it through all that pain, then, you're left with a wonderful abundance, right? And I found myself in that position, which put us to the place where we could be the largest in the country. It sounded easy right there, but trust me, it was very, very stressful and very hard.
Sure.
So,
a lot of stops, a lot of starts,
that's right.
a lot of drop back 10 and
Oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. So can you share just a little bit about kind lending and what your vision is there?
Sure. So, well, to end what happened on Stearns. So we were the largest, everything was great. We pulled out of the recession and came out on top. And I found myself in this amazing place. And the minute I started to think, okay, I think I've got this down. I've always had, God or whoever come and clobber me and say, you're not that good, Glenn, right? And so in this case, I was feeling a little like I'm the big shot, and I get hit with some health issues with some cancer in my throat. And it changed my life again, put the priorities back into place. And so I went and sold a majority of the company and decided to focus on my family. And I did that. But I still owned a minority interest in the company. And, and it became a different company. The culture changed, everything changes when you don't have your own, fingerprints on it anymore. And that's okay. They spent a lot of money to do what they wanted to do, but it wasn't that family feeling anymore. And so when they went through a reorganization. And I was then out. I had the ability to compete. I found myself the minute that happened in a just excited mode of, oh, I can get back in this business and do what I love. But what I didn't like, all the things I didn't like from the past, when you take a business that was an independent mortgage business, and now you start putting a lot of the Wall Street influence into that, the industry changes a little bit. And so I decided I wanted to come back in. I didn't want help from the outside. I wanted to be able to do it again the way we did it before. And I wanted to change the industry again and get it back to feeling good. And so the name Kind Lending was very purposeful, because we wanted it to be about a lifestyle. We wanted it to be about people who really enjoyed their career, their work. And there was a lot of people in the last few years that they felt that the currency that they had and the lever they had was money, right? If I pay you more, then you will do a better job, or you'll stay. And yet they stay, but they're not happy. Well, we found that there are other currencies out there: happiness, health, right? Kindness. And so by putting that into the formula and saying, hey, you might not get paid the top dollar, you're going to get paid very well. But also our focus is inward, and we live and work through a servant leadership style where we want you to come in and feel heard. We want you to be happy. We're going to make a little fun of ourselves. We're not going to take it that serious. As far we take home ownership serious, but let's laugh. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's let you come out of this and not feel like, you have to wait for 5 o'clock to run out the door. And so it's been working. We've grown very quickly, very fast on people that want to come and have a career. They don't just want a job, right? They want something that's going to be life-changing for them. And so it's nice to have and come from a place where I don't have to do this anymore. I was lucky to be on a boat going around the world and doing fun things with my family. I want to do it. I want to see smiles, and I want to grow something that really changes an industry. And so that's what we're doing, and we're having fun at it. And I have that luxury of being able to kind of make it the way I'd like to see it,
Wow, that's an admirable vision for your company. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Congrats on that. As we kind of wrap up, anything else that you'd like to share with the group about, the idea behind unlocking your greatness and how others might?
Yeah, well, I think when I think about, a lot of what I think Hope Builders is doing, right, is it's a lot of what I went through in my life, right? It's finding people that have had a lot of adversity in their life and have been surrounded by maybe some negative influences and things, but they are the ones that say, I am going to build and bring myself out of this. And so the fact that the people you work with are resilient, and the fact that these people figure out that getting a career and getting out of that old cycle that they've been in will help them and is important. And I think that when I look back, I didn't think that I had, I saw my upside as very low, right? Like there wasn't anybody, like I said, that said, you're going to one day, own an island with Richard Branson, and you're going to own a ranch with John Elway, right? It was, you might own your own car one day, right? There wasn't this big upside. And yet what I found is that the young men and women that you work with, right, that anything is possible once you start to realize that you surround yourself with the balcony people, not the basement people. When you take and use integrity and your word counts, and when you work your butt off, right? And you show people that you'll work harder and smarter than the next person, that they will move ahead and that they will gain slowly and that they can do anything they want over time. And when I think about, again, what you guys do and the audience that you recruit from, it is exactly that. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? That you should use your adversity as your strength, right? That it's your story. And the fact that, you've had it, it's not, you can use it as a crutch and look, and you can make yourself a victim or the victor. It's all in here. That's it, right? I know a gentleman that was locked away in the Hanoi Hilton, Captain Charlie Plum, and he said it wasn't the 6 feet of solitary confinement that is what it would make you crazy. It's the 6 inches between your head. You can do anything, right? As long as you think right. And so, adversity can be your best friend, right? You've already been there. So now use it as your story. And I find so many people, I've looked at a lot of the success stories, right, of hope builders, and they're people that have decided not to be a victim. And I salute you and I salute those people, because anybody can do that as long as you put your head right and as long as you go out there and you do the right thing, right? It doesn't matter where you came from. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So anyway.
Well, that's an awesome lead in to our next speaker, Juan Gonzalez, who is currently a construction trainee at Hope Builders, and like yourself, Glenn, he's offered to graciously agreed to share how the program has given him the tools and the support to help transform his life. We do have a saying at Hope Builders, when you get through the program, we want it to be a badge of honor, and we declare that once a Hope Builder, always a Hope Builder. And Juan is here today to share his story to inspire others. So Juan, if you can charge ahead.
All right, thank you, Tim, and thank you so much, Glenn, as well. I want to start off by saying thank you, everybody, for being here and listening to my testimony as well as Glenn's. To start off, my name is Juan Carlos Gonzalez Avila. I am 28 years old, and I am enrolled in the construction training program for Hope Builders. Growing up, I also had a rough childhood, being around the wrong crowd, making wrong decisions, being in bad habits. I am also a DACA recipient. It's something huge that has been a huge challenge in my life, being pretty much in that mindset where, you think you're just going to be a low entry level job type of worker. I grew up with a single mother and 3 brothers. My mom was super strict on me growing up, and she's always been, you got to be that right man for yourself. Most of all, there was never a moment where she was never on me. And even today, she still reminds me, you gotta be that good example for your brothers and continue pushing forward. I grew up without a father. That was another huge hurdle in my life. I used that as an excuse to be in those bad habits and in those in that bad crowd, and making wrong decisions, because I was so mad at the fact that I was just I had a bad hand dealt to me. So, from 21 to 24, I don't remember much, drinking and among other bad substances that I shouldn't have been into. And before Hope Builders, I graduated from high school. I started college, but I didn't have the right mindset. I didn't have the right habits to be in college, not doing the work, not doing the studying and all that type of stuff. So I just didn't see myself graduating. Besides that, I started working in the kitchen industry, the service industry. I started off as a dishwasher and moved my way up to the kitchen manager. But that was something that was supposed to be temporary. So for me, that was something that really, really also brought down my confidence, because as I kept moving up, I saw, that's that's rewarding, but this is not what I want. This is not something where I see myself doing in the long run. And it was just also bringing down a lot of my self-worth, you could say. One of the biggest things I did learn from my mom and from having that kind of job was work ethic. There's always being on top, always continuing forward work, whether you're still in bad habits or whatever. It's just having that good work ethic. But at the end of the day, I still felt stuck, and I needed to pretty much reflect and get myself out of that vicious cycle. So once I quit being a kitchen manager, it wasn't something I wanted to do. I started looking for other forms of employment, but everywhere I went, everything I looked for, I applied, never got a call back, never, I tried calling them, they would never get back to me. So that also started bringing down my confidence a lot. And I was trying to really be in that growth mindset. I really wanted to change. I really wanted to get out of this vicious cycle for myself. I really wanted to be that good example for my brothers. And it was something that I wasn't seeing. I was taking baby steps, but in the meantime, it was just something like, man, like you're not getting anything positive out of it. So I kept looking. I started thinking maybe I should just look into construction. Made a quick search on Google and it came out Hope Builders. I've had heard of the program before, but it was too good to be true. And the second time it came around, I took it as a sign and I said, you know what, let's give it a try. My expectations for it weren't as high as I received. So beginning the Hope Builders, it was a really huge turning point in my life, because when I started, I thought it was just going to be like, oh, okay, they'll train you, you're going to be a laborer and you're going to start working, right? But no, it's totally different. It's huge. It's something that I thank the past self that I actually came and did this for myself, because it was a huge blessing at the fact that as soon as I started meeting all the wonderful individuals that work at Hope Builders, the staff, the teachers, and they just start preparing you to have a career, not just a job, but a career. The construction side of it, they teach you the safety, they teach how to use the tools that they have in the warehouse. They're teaching you how to pretty much be more employment ready, how to have a proper resume, how to dress for success. And it was something that I'm so thankful for that they provided to us. And just the support outside of that, the support specialist, the employment readiness, the instructors that are teaching us these basic foundations to enter these fields that we want, and the fact that it's a 2-year commitment for us to be going back to them, communicating with them how we're doing and how we're progressing in our work. And if we find ourselves somewhere we want to do something different, they'll be able to come back and help us. That's something that I see as a huge turning point for me, because if they're willing to do that, I'm also willing to put in the discipline to be, to put in the discipline, to have the drive to continue moving forward, the drive to want to do better for myself, to grow. And just enrolling was the first step. And now that I'm almost done with the training program, it's something that I look back now and it's baby steps for me that I've taken little by little. And now I see the huge walkway I've created. It's something that I myself would, like others individuals like me that want to search for growth, I would totally recommend Hope Builders for them. The class environment is super fun. They have a lot of knowledge in every trade. They're bringing pretty much the best out of us. They want you to think of it as a team building experience, which I believe, it's huge for this industry, and it's huge for the future of Hope Builder as well. So that even though I myself am gonna move forward into the actual training and being on the field, I'd still want to come back and help Hope Builders in any little way that I can. Training future Hope Builders, or training, or helping donate my time to the program. And it's something that I personally wouldn't see myself doing 5 years ago, being in a cycle where I was lost, I was stuck. And my goal for the future is to be a professional, to be in this trade, and to pretty much continue growing, having that growth mindset, having that grit to move forward, to advance in my career. I would like to also be a role model for my three younger brothers. You know, two of them in high school, one of them in middle school, and they just look up to me so much. And growing up, it's something I should have seen sooner, but now that I'm able to see it now, I'm more active in their lives. I start coaching soccer for them. I started, taking them to their sport activities, enrolled in their schools, talking to their teachers, see how I can help them at home as well. It's something that, like I said, I wouldn't see myself doing 2-3 years ago because of the vicious cycle that I was in. I'm also going to be able to help my mom out a lot. She was blessed with such a wonderful husband, and he's been such a good mentor to me as well. I met him later on in my life, so I consider him a bit of a stepdad, but more of a mentor. He's also the reason why I'm able to have the support to go through this program and continue to grow and learn. He's also, both of them have been one of the hugest blessings in my life, and I always remind them that. I always thank them for that, help them in any little way that I can. And with that being said, I would like to say thank you guys for hearing me out today, and for your support in making this possible for people like me to continue moving forward and continue having that growth mindset. For helping me obtain this career and for making my family proud. It's huge. It's huge to everybody. Thank you.
Juan, thank you. Unbelievable. You are an inspiration for all of us. Everybody at Hope Builders is inspired every time we come in contact and hear just a little bit more about your story and your ambition. And so we know that this isn't an everyday thing. So we appreciate you helping others and inspiring your colleagues and your brothers and sisters. And so thank you.
You guys are not going to get rid of me. I'm a Hope Builder.
All right. Okay. There we go. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Shauna, who is the executive director for Hope Builders, to introduce today's benefactor for the speaker series, JP Morgan Chase, represented by our long-term board member, Vince McGinnis. So Shauna?
Thanks, Tim. And I'm just trying to swallow the lump in my throat after hearing both Glenn and Juan just talk about their inspiring stories. And I am feeling truly inspired. So I appreciate both of you for sharing your stories tonight. And it truly is my honor to introduce our longtime partner and benefactor for tonight's incredible program, JP Morgan Chase and Company. JP Morgan Chase really understands that healthy communities foster healthy businesses, and that creates opportunities for people. And as a result of that belief, they've really invested heavily in organizations across the country that have proven solutions. And I am extremely proud to have Hope Builders be among the premier workforce development initiatives that are supported by JP Morgan Chase. And so I want to thank JP Morgan Chase for their generous support here tonight and for their ongoing leadership around these critical issues. And it is truly my pleasure to introduce Vince McGinnis. We're so fortunate to have his leadership on our board. He's the executive director of JP Morgan's Chase Private Bank's wealth management team here in Orange County. And so Vince, thank you for being here with us tonight.
Shauna, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I also want to thank our guest speaker, Glenn Stearns and Juan Gonzalez. Juan, thank you so much for sharing. I heard you talk about a vicious cycle and the challenge of getting out of that vicious cycle and the importance of that first step and how Hope Builders became a turning point for you. And we're in the midst, or actually just still the beginning stages of 10 days for building hope by building pathways to prosperity. And you shared a great story of that. As Shauna mentioned, my name is Vince McGinnis. I'm the executive director with JP Morgan's Private Bank here in Orange County. And I'm pleased to be on the board of Hope Builders and being tied to Hope Builders both through JP Morgan Chase, but also through my family and over 25 years in supporting Hope Builders. On behalf of JP Morgan Chase, I want to welcome all of you tonight and thank you for participating in Hope Builders and being part of our 10 days of building a pathway to prosperity. I want to thank Hope Builders for our longstanding partnership and for the role you play in our community. It's our belief that now more than ever, business has a responsibility to step up and to help solve the most pressing challenges around the world. This is not just something that's nice to do, but we think it's imperative for our communities. It's a business imperative for all of us to get involved. This conviction is at the heart of our firm at JP Morgan, and the 5-year program that we've committed to, a $30 billion racial equity commitment to provide greater economic opportunity to underserved communities, especially to Black and Latinx communities. And it's why we're proud to support Hope Builders here in Orange County as one of many organizations we find ourselves supporting. Over the last 10 years, JP Morgan Chase has provided over $1.2 million in philanthropic funding to support the important work that is being done by Hope Builders. This organization creates meaningful and transformative opportunities for young adults. As Juan shared, it provides that first step in a turning point, really critical. What I've watched in the transformation is not just job training and skills, but in internships and job opportunities that lead to careers and can change not only individual lives, but to change families. And it's been a pleasure to be on the board as we've gone through this transition the last couple of years. Let's consider some of the impacts these types of programs are creating for young adults. 95% of youth who successfully complete Hope Builders training programs are linked to careers. 82% of the graduates are still on the job 6 months after placement. According to an analysis by Deloitte, a gift to Hope Builders generates a 45% return on investment in 3 years. I think it's worth applauding these incredible achievements. And I think in spite of this, though, we have to remember that much work is still to be done. Here in Orange County and across the country, there are currently over 4.5 million young adults neither enrolled in school nor working currently. And I'm going to come back to this point, but I want to touch on something that the Aspen Institute Forum and Community Solution discusses. Let me think about the wording here. That places the personal and public costs of not changing the trajectories of these youth at a cost to our communities of $6.3 trillion over the course of the current generation. I'm personally proud to give my time and treasure to support the young people like Juan and his colleagues and cohorts at Hope Builders. And I want to let you know, and I want to ask you to get involved. Every $1,000 we raise provides a means for another young person to get involved in Hope Builders and help them become motivated to turn their life around. And they'll have that first step, that turning point that Juan mentioned. Since 1995, Hope Builders has helped more than 6,000 young adults from poverty to prosperity. But there are so many more that can use your help. 37,000 more estimated in Orange County. That's the number of young adults in Orange County who are neither working nor in school at this time. Over the next 2 years, Hope Builders plans to double the number of young people that we serve, so that by 2023, we will be enrolling more than 370 trainees annually. Your support is critical to helping us achieve this goal. Your support will help change a life and provide a first step to a turning point, to stop the vicious cycle and to allow a family to change their future. That is why we're here tonight. That is why we're conducting the 10 days of.
I think it's possible that Vince's Wi-Fi might have froze on him, but as you can tell, Vince is very committed to the organization. JP Morgan Chase is very committed to the organization, and we've accomplished a whole bunch with their support. So if you are able to log on to our website, there's two really easy ways to support us. One is to fund an Amigo scholarship, and all the information's on our website. The other one is to give to our career registry, which includes everything from bus passes to medical supply kits to tool kits and a whole bunch more that the students need to be able to finish the program. So I do want to thank Shauna, and I want to thank Vince for sharing your thoughts tonight, and certainly Vince and your company's support over the many, many years. I just want to thank everybody again. It's been great hearing everybody's story and with a focus on how greatness was unlocked. So goodbye for now. Have a great evening.